Good morning, everyone, and welcome to what I'm calling the Codex Series. So this will be a series of instructional videos on how to get the most out of GPT-3 Codex. So I shared in the OpenAI Discord maybe about 2 weeks ago that I found a way to actually get Codex to build the full programs. So most people are struggling with this. And this is because we are also setting the bar too high. We get this idea that Codex will do everything for us, and that's quite not the case. And you get this also disappointment with the non-Codex models, like even with DaVinci. People expect like you go and type an instruction like, okay, write an article about this, and then you will spit out an entire article. And that's rarely the case. There's a lot of prompt engineering involved and a lot of techniques that needs to be used, sometimes multi-prompts, in order to get to the desired result. So Codex is not an exception. It's very hard to give a prompt and have Codex actually write a full program for you. A class maybe, a function maybe, a script maybe, but when you have a full program with different parts, different files, then things get quite more complex. So I did a lot of tests with this because I'm really interested in Codex. You can see my previous videos. And I found a way to actually get it to build pretty much the entire program for you. And then you have to make some adjustments. So when I shared this, a lot of people have asked me to share the technique and some tips. And I said I would record a video, so here it is. Sorry for the delay. I have a bunch of personal issues, and anyway, let's not get into that. So here's one example that I actually got from the OpenAI community Discord. This was a very simple prompt. Write a calculator using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So today I'm going to give you two examples on how to use Codex to build full programs. The first one will be this calculator, which is a small program, but it has different files. There's an HTML file, there's a CSS file, there's a JavaScript file, different functions. We'll see it working. But this is still a small program. But actually, even with a small program like this, a lot of people will struggle to get Codex to build it. So I'm going to show you how to do it. And then I'm going to show you how to build a much bigger program using a web development framework called Laravel. For no particular reason, I'm picking Laravel just because it's the one I use and I'm used to it. So let's imagine that we have a prompt like this. Write a calculator using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We have Code DaVinci as default model, temperature, everything is default. I didn't change anything. So if we start like this, and I'm going to submit this prompt and ask DaVinci to build the rest, let's see what it does. So it begins to write a description like this was some sort of exercise or challenge. This could be very well an exercise for a test, an exam, something like that. The calculator now is giving a description of what it can do, how it works. So when the user clicks the number button, the number should be displayed on the screen. Clicks an operation, you save the result on a variable, save the select operation on a variable, and empty the screen. Equal, perform the operation, and click reset to empty the screen and reset the result. Okay, so it's a very basic calculator. It's fine for what we need. You can add more features if you want, like a button to listen. Okay, so here you see like this is really like a description of that you see in an exercise or some kind of challenge. You can use the following code to get started. Okay, so the trick to get Codex to build things for you is to do it in a progressive way. Don't worry about finding the best prompt ever to get Codex to build it. It will never work. You have to do things step by step. This will be very evident on the second example, but here I'll show you also. Okay, so first what we have to do, we have to build the idea and all the objects, all the models of all the features that the user can do. We have to build that description for Codex. So it actually started doing that already. Let me just switch here to JavaScript. Oh, this is worse for you to read, so we'll go with plain text for now. It started with that already, pretty good. So we have a good description of the features of what the user sees in the screen, what the buttons do, So this is pretty good to start. Now we don't want this part here. This part is garbage. So let's take it out. So, okay, because this is a small program in terms of features and visible elements, I think this is pretty good. We don't need much more. Yeah, I think this is pretty cool. So what we will need now, we want to have an HTML file, which we can call index.html or calc.html. We want a style sheet and we want a JavaScript file. So the best way to do this is, again, progressively. We have to work with Codex one by one. And we cannot just pick randomly the file that we're going to do next. We have to be a little bit smart about it. So let me explain this to you. This is what I'm calling a kind of dependency graph. So let's say we have calc.html. We have style.css, and we have calc.js. So we have these three files, and we have to build what I'm calling the dependency graph. So we know that calc HTML will use styles CSS, right? The HTML will use style CSS. We also know that the HTML will use calc.js. Let me get this error. Okay, never mind. I don't get it straight. Okay. So the HTML file, which will build the UI components, will refer to the styles and will refer to the script. Okay, in the header we'll have all this. If you know HTML, this will be pretty familiar to you. So when you load HTML, it will load the style sheet and will load the calc.js. So by this logic, we would start building calc HTML first, then styles CSS, and then calc.js. I did quite a few experiments with this, and I don't always get the best result in this particular order, but most of the times this is the best order possible. Why? Because most of the code that is complex for Codex to build is going to be in calc.js. Okay, so calc.js needs to know where are the buttons, or what are the buttons, what are the IDs of the buttons. So in order for Codex to build this part of the code, you need to know that this part is already, it needs to refer to this part as a pre-existing file, so you can refer to those IDs. The same thing for style CSS. CSS will be referring to calc HTML. So calc HTML has to be the first file that we build. So let's give it a shot. What I do here, I'm going to give a separator, and I'm going to say this is calc.html. So now I'm hinting that, okay, I have the description of the features, I have basically the whole flow of the program. This is a small and simple program. Now let's start building the HTML file. So let's click submit and see what happens. Notice that when I'm doing this with these separators and comments, when you're going to build code, Codex usually uses these three backticks. You stopped because of the maximum length. Let's just continue. These backticks are common in web discussion forums or Discord when you're introducing code. Okay, so now he's already going to calc CSS. Look at how he understands that I was writing a file. Now he's going to begin another file. He understood that I'm separating files. But I'm going to delete this because I don't want him to move to the next file before I review the work that he already did. Sorry. Okay, so let's review what he did. We have the HTML, the head, style sheet. He used calc CSS. I used styles.css. So let's change it. You'll see how it obeys what I'm telling it to do. Then it did, okay, numbers, operations. and then he's referring to calc.js as the script. Okay, so pretty good. So now we can build a script, the CSS. No particular order. We could go for the script here because the script and the CSS are not dependent on each other. I think he's not going to use. Yeah, it shouldn't depend. So now let's go for styles CSS and submit. He's going to do CSS code, calculator class, a screen, buttons, buttons button, buttons button number, button operation, operation hover. Okay, now he's going to do the calc.js. Let's stop it there. Let's just review this. So we have a calculator class, which is the main container. Then we have the screen of the calculator. So basically this is where we have the result. I see that there is no input field here to actually type the numbers. Let's see what Codex has in mind for this. Then we have classes for the numbers. Operation numbers have a different color, which is pretty cool, and another color as well. Okay, pretty cool. Let's continue then. Let's go now for the third and final file, calc.js. So he's generating event listeners for the buttons. When the buttons are clicked, something will happen. Okay, setting the operations. Okay, now he's going to look, this was probably part of an exercise, like I said in the beginning. Now he's going for exercise 2. Okay, so this part is irrelevant for us. So he's going to check the key press. No, this is button. Okay, so it doesn't have an input field because we didn't say that the user would input with the keyboard, so the user will have to use the buttons always. That's why it doesn't have an input field, and there are no key presses here, just event listeners for clicks. So with this done, I think we're pretty much finished. So let's give this a try now and see what it did. I'm going to save this. Let's pick up the HTML. And let's just put here quickly. So this is calc.html. Okay. Then we have the styles CSS. Styles.css. And then we have calc.js. Everything pretty short and simple. Calc.js. Pretty cool. Okay, now let's open calc.html. Can we just drag it here? Yes, I can. Okay, here's my calculator. A little bit some issues here with the styling. 4 plus 4 equals 8. So the calculator works. We just had a little bit of issues with the styling. 5 times 3, 15. Okay. And 9 divided by 3 equals 3. So our calculator works. There's only an issue here with the CSS, but one thing we could have said in the beginning was to CSS. We could do like Bootstrap for and JavaScript. Let's just give this a try and see if it makes a big difference in the styling. But now I would have to generate HTML as well because the classes would be different. Let's just give it a quick shot. And because there was no Bootstrap 4.3.1, okay. Calc CSS, we're gonna change this to style CSS. Submit again. I'm going to increase the maximum length just so that we don't have to stop so many times. Okay, so now he's using containers, rows and columns from Bootstrap, which is great, and maybe this will help us to solve the layout issues. Of course, it gets much bigger now, a lot of divs inside divs. Now we're going for Calc.js. Definitely not as smart here. I don't know why he decided to do this. Button, button, subtract, button. Oh, okay, because he didn't assign the class of numbers, so now he's going to, yeah, this part was not as smart as the previous one. He's doing individual listeners for each button, which is definitely not desirable. The other one was much smarter. Okay, anyway, we just want to test the layout here, so let's just give it a shot. I'm just gonna copy the JavaScript again to Calc.js. The other one was definitely much smarter, and the HTML. Oh, we didn't build CSS. I deleted because I thought it did it before. Style CSS. It's using Bootstrap, but still there was some, yeah, okay, there is this still screen class that we might need. Let's refresh. Okay, so here we have a different calculator, probably awesome for mobile, more or less. Okay, 5 plus 5 equals 10. All right, so this was just a demonstration to show you how you can do this step by step and by understanding the dependency graph. So you need to have context of a few things first before you move to the others. This was a simple example. Let's do something way more advanced. Let's begin now, and with this one I'm not going to actually write the files and show you working, because this will take a significant amount of time, but I want to show you how you do it. So let's start by making create a note-taking web app using Laravel 7, and I'm using Laravel 7 here because I don't think Codex has knowledge about Laravel 8, and if I don't specify Laravel 7, it will actually default to Laravel 5, which has a lot of outdated stuff. So at least with this, I'm trying to get things a little bit more up to date. Using Laravel 7 and Bootstrap 4. So now we're going to say what are the features that we want. The user should be able to create notes, to create and save notes using local storage. So I'm not going to use a database. I'm going to use local storage, so things will stay in the browser. It's just an example. We could use a database, of course. Yeah, actually, let's use a database. Create and save notice using a MySQL database. But local storage actually works pretty well for other smaller applications. And what else? What do I need to say more? Okay, we'll edit later if we need to. So now I'm going to, again, progressively, step by step, I'm going to build different parts of this. But before I go to the code, I need to give a lot of information for Codex to use. So I'm going to kind of making smaller prompts, step by step, to build the features. Okay, so the app should be able to, or rather the user should be able to, and now I'm going to hint that I'm building a list, like a list of features, and let's Let me just reduce the maximum length here. Let's click submit and we'll stop when we have to. Create a node, edit a node, delete a node, view all nodes, view a single node. The node should be saved. Okay, now it's going to, yeah, okay. The user should be able to create a node. Actually, I don't need these comments. Just adding more visual noise. Create a node, edit a node, delete a node, view all nodes, view a single node. What else? Search nodes by search nodes, search text, search by text in the node's title or content. Okay. Nodes can have multiple tags. So this is sort of a organization thing. I can assign tags to nodes. View all nodes, create a node, use view to create, edit, delete, view a single node, use and search. Okay, so these are the main features that we want for a simple note-taking application. What else do we need here? Let's just see if Codex actually suggests anything more useful. It doesn't. It's going to let me just force him to suggest something. Search by tags. Yeah, okay, so this is a good suggestion. Okay, see that? I didn't think about that. I forced him to give me more suggestions for the features. It suggests the one that was actually pretty cool. Search by tags. Or I could even say browse by tags. That will also actually be... Yeah, anyway, let's leave it like that. So now we have the feature set. Now Codex knows that he has to build all this stuff, okay? Next step we're going to do is to kind of detail the model of the tags and the model of the nodes. And let's see if Codex agrees with me. Let's do this, how to write this. Let's say models. So Laravel, for those of you who are not aware of it or are used to web application frameworks, uses an MVC approach. So model view controller. Models means the objects that are usually mapped into a database. Then we have the views, which are rendered to the user, which is what you see in the browser, and you have the controllers, which do kind of they receive the request from the browser, they get the corresponding code and give the response back. So that's MVC. So the models for the application will be the node and the tag. That's pretty cool, and I think that's okay. Then what else do we need? We're going to detail the model for the tag and the model for the node. So we're going to say tag model attributes and build again. So it just says the tag has a name, okay? The node has title and content. And we want something more. We want, let's add let's say a color. And let's see what else Codex suggests for me to have tags. Yeah, okay. This, I wouldn't need it here. I don't know exactly how it's going to interpret this, but let's leave it for now. Then we can fix it later. Again, this is a very interactive process, step by step. We fix things, we see how it works, we fix again. It's always like a permanent fine-tuning, continuous fine-tuning. So we have the models, we have the attributes for each model. And then we're going to detail what else we need here. The views. What views do we need? Create node, edit node, view all nodes, view a single node, and search results. Okay, now again is already going ahead and saying we need these controllers, node controller, tag controller. Is already creating the routes. Let's stop here. So I have two controllers, node controller, tag controller. So yeah, because I had the tags here, it didn't create. Is using the text maybe as a text field. It's okay. We leave it for this example. It's fine. So we get a few routes. Let's see. We get the nodes create, post, get, edit, delete, and search. Okay. So we get the routes ready because Laravel has a routes file. So these will be the routes that will be created. And let's see what else do we need here. We have the views. Oh, actually, one thing I should have done. No, he's going to be smart enough to get it. So I'm not going to do that. I was going to say I'm going to put the file names that correspond to each view, so that then it's easier for it to link things together. But I think it's going to be smart enough to get it. So I think I have my prompt ready. Okay, so this see how I went like editing again another prompt, editing again another prompt, another completion to get the application to a kind of ready state. Now we're ready to build the code. So he knows what he has to do, like the bird's eye view. He knows the features that the app has. He knows the models, the views and the controllers and the routes that will exist. All this is necessary because the code that he's going to build is going to use all this stuff. So if I have a view with a link to create a node, he needs to know that this route exists. So if we feed this information as part of the prompt, things will work out pretty good. So let's begin. The dependency graph for this will be quite more complex. For example, I could build a routes file, but the routes file already refer to the controllers file. And the controllers refer to the views. So we could start by thinking, okay, what are the files that are independent, that can live on their own? And usually we could start by, for example, the models. And the models already depend on the database, tables. So we could start by the migrations, okay? So let's start by migrations. And let's see what it does if I just do this. Okay, so he's making migration for create node, create tags, and create node tag table, which is interesting because I wasn't expecting it to do that kind of relationship. But let's see what happens. So now he's creating the models, and it's going to create the, okay, so he's creating the files first, and now he's already making things that I don't want. So he's creating the files first, which is fine. We have the migrations, we have the models, we have the controllers. The views don't have a dedicated command in Laravel to be built. So now what I'm going to do is actually to get the content for this. So I'm going to say create node stable migration and let it build that file. So there's the migration for the nodes, for the tags, and for the node tag table. Okay, let's stop there. So now I have my migrations. I could now copy paste this particular code inside the Laravel file. I would go to the migration file which Laravel creates. I would have to just run this command, and then I would just put this inside the migration. I've had better results where you would output the full file. This is just part of the function to run the migration. Anyway, we could go with this for now. So let's just see if it's okay. So we have ID for the node, the title, the content, the color, and the timestamps. That's fine. Here we have just the name, okay, and then the node tag, which is linking both tables, with foreign keys. Perfect. So we have the migrations. Now we can make the models. So let's do the node model. And I could let me just see if we can get it. Okay, yeah, it did. So class node extends model, the tag model, and that's it. Let's stop there. So the node model, fillable, yes. Tags belongs to many, yes. So it has many tags. The tag model belongs to many nodes. Fillable. Okay, perfect. This is all we need for the models, because this is a simple also application. We don't need anything special here. We can move on. So we have the models. We have the migrations done. We could move now to the controllers, but the controllers will refer to the views. So we could do the views first. Okay, so we need 5 views. Create node view. Is using Bootstrap. You can see here the class, card body. Look at how he's using the routes, node store. Oh, I didn't build the routes file. Anyway, no problem. I have, yeah. Okay, I could have did the routes file, but it's okay. It's gonna work anyway. I'll do it afterwards. So the only limitation here is that for really big stuff, you'll find that there is a limit with the max tokens you can have in these prompts. Right now we are at 762, and we still have a long way to go. So yeah, this eventually becomes a problem. But this serves an example. So now we have the edit node view, and I'm just gonna let it run for a while. It's gonna build the views. Increase the maximum length, so now it don't stop as often. And this is really good code, standard, simple for Laravel. I can assure you that this would work. It has even error handling. View all nodes view. So he's using the pattern that I passed. Whoops, now it doesn't let me scroll. Okay. So the pattern that I added above with the kind of the view description and then view, so he knows which file is working on. View a single node. Look at how smart. It knows that I added a color. Okay, we'll stop and I'll show you that, because with the scrolling it's a bit difficult to understand. We added, after the first completion, we added manually that each node has a color. So now he's using that color to color the background of the node. So he kind of understood what I wanted. Okay, he's going for the controllers now, so I'll stop there. So this is the search. This is a single node view. There it is. Background color, node color. It's pretty smart. This is the view all nodes. This is the edit node. Let me just see how it did. Input color of type color. Okay, so we have a color picker there. Pretty cool. Okay, so we have all our views done. Now I would say that I want the routes file. So I would say routes web PHP, which is the standard HTML, the standard file in Laravel for the routes. So I'm gonna have it build the routes before I go to the controllers. And oh yeah, he was really smart. He added the resource route, which adds already everything needed for the CRUD, so to create and edit, update, etc. And So this will be our routes file with the welcome view. We didn't have a welcome view, did we? We didn't. Okay, anyway, we could edit that out. So after that we have the controllers. So he's going to build the node controller, and he's adding middleware auth, index, create, store. So he's validating my edit, destroy with status messages passed in the session variables. Pretty cool. Then we have the search. This is the tag controller. Okay, so this is the search. It's going to search in the title or in the content. Load the tags. Pretty cool. Paste it to the search tag controller. Then we have the tags, index, create, store, edit, update, destroy. Okay, now as you can see, we have already exceeded the limit here. But this is pretty much the whole application built. I would now just have to do a lot of boring cut and paste work to do this. I cannot, I think, yeah, I've already exceeded the maximum that I could go here. But again, I think this is a valid example how the HTML is really what takes a lot of space here. We could, for instance, we could take out the HTML right now. One more. Search result. Okay, routes. Now that we have the HTML built, we have the routes, the controllers. Now I reduce significantly the tokens, and I could continue. And now I could even ask for details on how to run the application or how to install the application. For example, I could say steps to install. And here I have a very simple Laravel installation, generating keys, migrate to run the migrations. This will start a local web server and then visit this address, which is the default one, to view my application running. So there you go. Step by step, fix what you don't like. Make sure you have a pretty good description of what your application should do, what are the objects it has, what attributes are in each object, what are the things what are the files that the application should use. So you're gonna hint Codex with a lot of stuff so that step by step afterwards you tell them, okay, build this part. And again, you have to be smart with the dependencies. Step by step, you tell them what part are you building, and then it's going to do it a pretty good job instead of trying to get just a massive prompt in one go. So I hope this was useful. Sorry the video is a bit long, but I wanted to do these 2 examples, and see you soon in another Codex tip series. Bye bye.